Do you ever go back and look at old pictures of yourself and then get that embarrassed feeling in the pit of your stomach when you come face to face with how you used to look and act? I imagine that's just how Sony feels when they look back on Jumping Flash, the proto 3D platformer that was a near launch title for the original PlayStation. It's absurd, it's harsh on the eyes, and I've still got a soft spot for it in my heart all these years later, since it was the first PlayStation game I owned. But now that I've been reminded of its existence after all of these years, due to its inclusion on the PlayStation Classic, I feel compelled to find out if I can still even tolerate it. Wish me luck as I recomplete Jumping Flash. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Completionist New Game Plus, a show in which I'm recompleting the first 120 games from the original Completionist lineup. More on that in the description down below. When I was a kid, and I got my PlayStation, I asked for Tekken. I asked for any games that were not made for kids, because I thought I was old enough to be a big boy and play more adult things. And instead, what I got was Jumping Flash. Now, for those of you who don't know what Jumping Flash is, oh, don't you worry, because if you're one of the few out there that picked up the PlayStation Classic, yeah, that game is on there. So with that said, let's take another good look at the PS1 classic, Jumping Flash. Let's begin. If you're brand new to the console gaming market and your goal is to prove that 3D gaming is indeed the future, then you're gonna have to hit people hard in the face with something they've never even seen before. And that's what Sony was attempting to do with Jumping Flash. It started out as a tech demo called Springman and was Sony's way of saying, look, polygons aren't scary. In fact, they're kind of cool, yeah? Yeah, Now give me your goddamn money. When the decision came to turn Springman into a full-fledged PlayStation title, they jumped on the mascot train with the addition of Robbit, the Robotic Rabbit. They also hoped that Robbit would become as beloved and long-lived as Sonic and Mario. Yeah, I'm pretty sure things didn't go down that way at all, but Jumping Flash did exactly what it was meant to do. It blew people's minds like a hard drug. Imagine the game reviewers of the time wondering, where am I? Where's my body? Where did all the sprites go? I'm gonna throw up! Ugh! And those kinds of reactions were just what was needed to convince people that polygons were here to stay. And that goes for me too. Jumping Flash was the only PlayStation game that I had for a while, so I quickly became desensitized to its insanity. In fact, I grew to love it, which is why I reviewed it during the early days of the Completionist. I found it a lot easier than I did when I was a kid, and considering how short and charming it was, it kind of defaulted its way into a play it rating. But I'd like to think that now I am more capable of removing my nostalgia goggles and doing a very serious objective review about collecting mechanical carrots. Completing Jumping Flash will mean leaping and blasting through 6 hazy, crazy worlds. I'll also have to beat it 2 additional times after that, thanks to its equivalents of New Game Plus and Hard Mode. But don't let the sound of that fool you. Jumping Flash only takes a couple of hours to complete, which is just the right amount of time to lie awake in bed and think about all those embarrassing pictures of yourself. Ugh, what was I thinking? Jumping Flash feels like a dream that you had last night and can barely remember. When you're in it, it seems perfectly reasonable. But only after you turn it off do you fail to remember any specific details about it and begin to question the logic behind it. And that's because there are no specific details and there is no logic behind it. It's somehow both quirky enough to stand out among other titles and also featureless enough to pass as a typical early Polygon game. And as for Completionists, it's just as easy and weird as it's always been. Understanding the game's premise is impossible. Every time you think you've managed to comprehend some of it, something new and bewildering is thrown right at you. Baron Aloha is a bad guy in outer space? Weird name, but okay. He commands some robots to break off pieces of a planet and carry them off to be his own private retreat? Not how physics works, but cool, I'll go with it. Universal City Hall will help? Who? What the hell is a Universal City? And Robbit is sent off to save the day. Fair enough, but is Robbit self-aware, or is he just a pre-programmed automaton? Are there other agents of Universal City Hall? Like a Robo-Rilla or an android alligator? Who funds all of this? Why would you name your world Crater Planet unless you knew beforehand that it would one day be desecrated by an evil space scientist? Have your eyes glazed over? That means you're thinking about this way too hard, which is the same mistake I made when completing Jumping Flash. This game was clearly made from the bottom up, with a narrative that was crafted to explain away the hopping mechanics, the flat worlds, and the skybox backgrounds. I never worried about the writing as a kid. It didn't really bother me about it last time I completed it, and I'm fine with it now. I'm just more painfully aware of its dubiousness than ever before. But if you have any lingering questions, please consult your local Universal City Hall. Just look how this game opens. Exact. Ultra. Believe it or not, those were the logos for the studios behind Jumping Flash, and not this game's poor attempt at stealing some thunder from Star Wars. Jumping Flash may look like one of those fake games they use on TV shows, but make no mistake, Jumping Flash is a genuine platformer, and it takes the word platforming very seriously. Jumping is your bread and butter, which you'll use to bop bad guys, reach new areas, and collect items. Your main goal, aside from maintaining your sanity, is reaching the stage clear platform in each level, which is only activated after you've found the 4 hidden carrot-shaped jet pods. You'll occasionally run into a boss fight, but for the most part, you're just trying to eat your veggies and get the hell out of here, which is entirely relatable. Here's something surprising. Jumping actually still feels pretty good, and that's thanks in large part to 2 things. Firstly, your 2 additional air hikes. They give you more height, distance, and control whenever you need them. And then there's the way the camera automatically shifts downward as you get some air. It's a nice quality of life element that lets you more easily see where you're landing. You've also got a blaster with infinite ammo to help you serve and protect, but jumping is simply the most powerful and satisfying weapon you have. The game may be dated, but lining up a high-altitude death drop never gets old. And mastering the multi-jump blaster combo is both critical and fun. Witnessing an enemy who's just a bunch of crude polygons explode into tinier groups of polygons underneath your big-ass Robbit feet still feels strangely gratifying. Now, I don't mind the tank controls at all, and the first-person perspective doesn't really leave much room for error with camera controls, but I started to feel claustrophobic with Jumping Flash's HUD. Maybe I'm becoming more sensitive to that in my old age, or maybe I've been spoiled by more minimalist HUDs in modern games, but it feels like there is a lot going on the screen. This game's back from the era where first person equaled "you're in a cockpit, soldier." But as cluttered as it all is, being locked into this cramped perspective does help to keep you immersed in this weird-ass world. Crater Planet, or at least the stolen pieces of it, are harsh, jaggy, and yet somehow endearing. I'm trying really hard to not let nostalgia color my opinion, but I find this game's low poly environments kinda quaint, whether you're in the foggy open-air stages or one of the sealed-off labyrinths. Jumping Flash possesses this strange, mesmerizing quality. After you're in it for a while, you forget how ridiculous and dated it all looks, and it just starts to seem normal. It's kind of a weird phenomenon. The visuals often make it hard to tell the interactables from the scenery, but you forgive it because of how dumb and sweet it is. You'd think that these graphics would seem rougher than ever due to the natural progression of time, but they're somewhat timeless, representing that very special time when polygons were big and in your face. Each level definitely has its own personality, and despite their crudeness, I can definitely pick up what things are supposed to be. That is a 32-bit penguin. That is a crazy messed up looking dragon. And somehow I know that that's a construction worker, even though it's made of about maybe 12 polygons. The sound effects sound like they were straight up ripped from a generic sound bank CD. Those cartoony springing noises and explosions may sound like zany fun, but to me, they sound like royalty free. But the voice recordings are something else. I remember hearing actual clear voices in a game back when I was a kid as being incredible. While I can still appreciate them today, Robbit's voice just sounds like a child to me now.
All right.
So now we're sending children out to fight in interplanetary battles. The soundtrack is still eclectic and all-around groovy, but I can't help but be reminded of the soundtracks from those PC games that no one ever played the full versions of, but everyone played the demos of. Robbit belongs right up there with the likes of Jazz, Jackrabbit, and I don't know, that ship from Tyrion? I was trying to think of another bunny mascot from PC games, but whatever. I'd say the biggest contributor to Jumping Flash being so easy to complete is the fact that there's not that much to do in the game. 3D platformers are known for stuffing in several additional sets of collectibles. And while Jumping Flash has a few things to pick up, they are all utterly skippable. Who needs a bunch of firework-themed weapons when you can just blast enemies, or even better, just avoid them altogether? Who cares about time extensions when you're easily clearing these levels in seconds? And then there's these coins which give you points, which do nothing. Thanks, I guess. Maybe lives, but that's standard. Oh, but do take the power pill every chance you get. It's like a quick LSD simulator. You can also find some bonus stages by leaping into giant floating rings. They involve popping a bunch of balloons within a time limit, but when the rewards are extra lives, which you'll never really need, it hardly seems worth it. I'd say the biggest shakeup the game offers are the boss fights, but just like everybody else, these guys go down quickly with a jump and blast combo. You gotta respect the UCH, bitch. So after you beat the game, you will gain access to Extra Mode, which is the same game all over again, except with some items moved around and a shorter time limit. So Extra Mode is kind of like Jumping Flash's Hard Mode, except that the regular mode was always incredibly simple and easy, making Extra Mode Easy Mode again. For Completionists, it may be an additional mandatory playthrough, but it barely takes any effort or time to do. Jumping Flash is basically a 3 playthrough game thanks to the last mode known as Super Mode. You'll unlock this one by beating the game without continuing, which you'll do without even trying. This is the mode where Robbit starts going ham, with an additional 3 air hikes at his disposal, as well as the ability to run really fast and dive down hard at will. With all this control and momentum, Robbit can basically fly, and yet he still can't escape his fate as a civil servant. So if Extra Mode was like an easy mode, Super Mode is like a f it, do whatever the f you want mode. Recompleting Jumping Flash really put into perspective what I was willing to pay full price for back in the day. I don't think many people would drop 50 or 60 bones on it today, but I do think they might invest the 3 hours or so on this strange little oddity. I feel like Jumping Flash still has a place as long as we downgrade its classification from game to experience. If it worked for Pluto, it can work for this thing.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again.
It may have been a long time since my last brush with it, but my opinion on Jumping Flash hasn't changed much. It doesn't take much effort or time, and the only real completion bonus to speak of are the game's credits. You want to see who's to blame for Jumping Flash? Well, you gotta beat Extra Mode. This is one of those times where I don't expect or really even want a completion reward. They already let me do whatever the hell I want in Super Mode. What more could they give me? I guess they could let players play as Roborilla and the rest of the UCF enforcers. Can't believe those guys didn't even show up in Jumping Flash 2. Yo, you have to flesh out this world. While I recompleted Jumping Flash, there were 3 deaths, 3 campaign playthroughs, 108 jet pods collected, 2 hours of total playtime, and 6 more years until I forget about this game all over again and then play it on a whim, only to end up completing it again. It's inevitable. Jumping Flash is just as short, baffling, and charming as ever. I have some newfound appreciation for its place in video game history though. It's more clear than ever how this game was a pioneer, paving the way for so many better, prettier, more comprehensible games to come after it. Jumping Flash, I salute you. One does not simply complete Jumping Flash without wondering about the insane amount of drugs that it would take to rationalize anything that takes place in that game. I remember last time I completed it, the plot, just talking with the plot alone, made me laugh. Because you had an evil overlord space guy who wants to build a private resort, and then the government of the world sends a robotic bunny to stop him. That's Jumping Flash. My opinions on Jumping Flash have not changed. It is still the world's most okay PlayStation title that ever existed. So, with that in mind, guys, I still give this game my completionist rating of play it.
Play it!
That's all the time we have today, guys, so please, as always, let me know what you thought about today's episode somewhere on the internet. Look at this boy. Look at him. He's on this. You can go to the store today, and this is in here. The question of the day is, do you want to play Jumping Flash now? And if you do, why? Let me know in the comments down below. I've been Gerard the Completionist, and I'll see you sometime soon. I wonder if this smells good. No, it smells like a box.